Imagine you're sitting with other candidates waiting to be called for a job interview. Look around you. If it were up to you, would you hire the person next to you? Do you think they'd be good at doing the job? Do you think they'd hire you?
You may have heard people say that a degree is not enough. And unfortunately, there is some truth to this statement. If you are applying for graduate positions when you finish your studies, every applicant will have a degree. Not just from your university, but from universities in your city and around the country, even from other parts of the world.
What we're saying is the labour market is highly competitive, and this is especially true in graduate roles. It's hard for employers. Often they have hundreds of applications for the one graduate position. How do they choose someone for that position? How do they know that that someone is going to be good in the role? This is where your employability is so important.
When employers are making recruitment decisions, they need to make a judgment on your potential to perform in the role and your ability to make a contribution to their organisation. At this stage, employers only have a few things to go on, such as your written application and how you behave in an interview situation, which is why you need to be able to clearly communicate to the employer your potential to fulfil the role. However, it's not just about selling yourself in a recruitment situation. Let's think about the words employment and employability. Employment is about being hired for a job. Employability is about your ability to do the job. You actually need to be able to perform well in that role. Not performing in your job can have a negative impact on your organisation. And you might find you're either not in it for very long or you may not progress anywhere.
However, we understand, of course, that you can't demonstrate that you can perform well in a job if you don't get a job. This is why both gaining a job and performing effectively in it are the two key dimensions of employability. Let's hear different perspectives on why employability is important.
I think it's a very important question nowadays, mainly because we're in a very globalized, very challenging and competitive world. So it's important to understand what value you bring to a company and to the society at large.
Graduate employability is really important because we want the best people for the job. We want them to fit in with our organisation and in with our teams. We also want them to be happy as well. So there's nothing worse than having a graduate come who has different expectations. And then not staying here with the organisation because we invest a lot of time into our grads.
Employability is important to me because I think when you're hired by an employer, you're hired on the expectation that you're going to perform in that role. It's all very good to sort of list off your skills and what you can do, but you need to be able to contribute to the business and make sure it can continue to thrive. So for instance, with me in PR, I can say, I can write a press release, I can write a blog, or I can do social media. But if I walk into that role and then my sentences aren't very coherent and I'm not actually producing things that I've said I can, then I'm probably not going to last very long in that role.
I think employability is important because it takes you from being someone on a piece of paper that an employer looks at to someone who's sitting in a room, who's contributing to a meeting, who's actually creating social change. I think it's also really important because it kind of gives you longevity as well. It allows someone to see that you're going to go places, and whilst you might be entering this workspace now, you have a greater goal and you've used experiences to give you wisdom to actually go further and create kind of better outcomes for your team, yourself, and for the future.
Why should students care about employability? I think one of the reasons to me is that the more employable you are, the more obviously you'll be likely to get a job. The quicker you'll get a job, and hopefully a job in your area which can help hone the skills that apply to the area or profession that you've worked towards. The earlier you do that, you start building this experience in your life which builds towards a career. The longer it takes you to get to that point, that's time lost in your career, that's opportunities lost. So you're seeking to take up opportunities as early as possible and as many opportunities as possible. When I talk about a career, I don't necessarily say a job in one company for your life. Your career, as we know, is going to be mobile over time. So you want to build skills in each of your environments that you're working in over time. But the sooner you do that, the better. And I think that's really, to me, the key to employability is, again, getting the job in the right area, keeping that job, and doing a good job, making sure you're successful in that job so you can start to build a career.
So you can see that employability isn't just about talking the talk. You need to be able to walk the walk.
So now you know what employability is and why it's important. From here on in, we'll show you how to develop your employability so you have the best chance of getting a job, enjoying a career and making a valuable contribution to society.